I'm Mischa.
For me, it was always important to me to have a normal life.
I was 16.
I'm a person. I'm an actress.
Moved to LA for that role.
And, you know, if I hadn't done the OC, I'm sure I would be in college right now, but...
Where she looked odd and bloated and was whisked off to a psych ward using the same police code that was used for Britney Spears.
Bitches in my biz while your man is in my butt. Got police blonde bangs, so I'm looking like a slut. Gotta cover up the mini cause I'm hopping out the truck. I don't serve sex, I don't know if it's smut.
Yeah, section 5150. You know, last year she was arrested for DUI and for marijuana possession, checked into rehab.
Yeah, but people want to be like you. Young ladies want to be like you, and
That's one of her mugshots.
Again, hindsight is 20/20, but an entire team of people felt that they knew best.
The Mischa shit. We can call it the Mischa shit.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about me over the years.
Well, that's what I'm wanting to clear up here. Drugging you to keep you vertical, and then they 5150 you.
I don't think there's much that you could do with that storyline anyway now.
You're scary,
Especially since I'm dead.
Hi, I'm Shelby, and welcome to Shelby Search Bar, a series on Deep Dive where I take you all on a journey through the world's largest database, the internet, and present stories to you that I find interesting. Today, we are taking it back to the early 2000s and diving into the it girl of 2003, Mischa Barton. Mischa Barton rose to fame almost overnight because of her role as Marissa Cooper on the hit show The OC. After leaving The OC in its third season, Mischa's life seemed to spiral downward as she was relentlessly targeted by paparazzi and the media. But behind the scenes, Mischa had a team around her that didn't have her best interests at heart, treating her as a commodity, going as far as medicating her just to keep her working. Everything would come to a head with a 5150 hold, and this is just a small part of what we will be uncovering today, so grab your floaty and let's dive in. But first, today's episode of Deep Dive is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you haven't heard of SeatGeek, they are the #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads. SeatGeek has more than 70,000 events every single day, including concerts, sports events, festivals, and more. One of my favorite memories was getting to see Kesha live with Jake, and I'll definitely be using SeatGeek on my upcoming trip to New York so we can go to another concert together. SeatGeek puts all the tickets across the web in one place to make sure you are getting a good deal. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 through 10, so look for the green dots. Green means good and red dots are bad. Plus, each ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. Right now is such an exciting time for concerts with Taylor Swift and Beyonce on tour. You're not going to want to miss out. So we came through for you guys. Use our code DEEPDIVE for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code DEEPDIVE. So make sure you click the link in the description box to download the app. Thank you so much, SeatGeek, for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get back to the rise and fall of Mischa Barton. Mischa Ann Barton was born on January 24th, 1986 in London to her Irish mother Nala Barton and her English father Paul Barton. Mischa would live in England until she was around the age of 5 years old. That's when her father Paul moved the entire family over to New York City for a job opportunity. New York is where Mischa would discover her love for acting. She was generally a very shy and introverted kid, but taking theater classes is what really allowed her to come out of her shell. And by the age of 8 years old, Mischa scored a role on the off-Broadway play Slavs, where the New York Times would praise Mischa's performance. She would continue to appear in various off-Broadway productions, and when she was 9 years old, she was the lead role in 12 Dreams. When Mischa was just 11 years old, she made the switch from plays to film and television. Her film debut was a movie titled Lawn Dogs in 1997, which was even darker than I could have imagined, especially for a young child. The synopsis reads as follows. When Devin, played by Mischa, a 10-year-old girl, forges a friendship with Trent, a 21-year-old outsider who mows the neighborhood lawns, things suddenly get very complicated and private. This movie was rated R, so Mischa couldn't even see the movie herself at the premiere.
How does it feel not to be allowed to see your own film tonight?
Well, I knew I wasn't going to be able to see it because it's got a 15 rating, and, well, I would love to be able to see it on the big screen, but I suppose I'm not going to get the chance to.
So what are you going to do tonight instead?
I'm not sure. I'm probably just going to go out and have ice cream or something. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. Nothing very interesting, because then I'm going to come back at the end of the film something again. So.
She also appeared multiple times on the soap All My Children, but Mischa's big break as a child actor came in 1999 when she appeared in the films Notting Hill and The Sixth Sense. After her appearance in The Sixth Sense, Mischa started to actually get recognized, and from what it sounds like from interviews, that she maybe got teased at school by some of the other kids. Because of this, she switched schools to a professional arts high school, which only helped her to develop her acting skills even more. Now fast forward to 2003, Mischa was 16 going on 17 years old when she appeared in an episode of a show called Fastlane that aired on Fox for just one season. But this is where she met Josh Schwartz, who was an up-and-coming screenwriter and TV producer. Josh wrote and created a pilot called The OC, which was picked up by Fox Network. He was only 26 years old at the time, making him the youngest ever creator of a TV show. Josh wanted Mischa to play the character Marissa Cooper, one of the lead female roles in the teen drama, but the network wasn't entirely sold on Mischa, and the role of Marissa almost went to Olivia Wilde. In the end, Mischa secured her big break on The OC, the show that would catapult her into stardom. The OC began airing in August of 2003, and y'all, my middle school self was absolutely obsessed. Just the intro song alone had me hooked. The show mainly followed a group of teenagers: Marissa, Ryan played by Ben McKenzie, Summer played by Rachel Bilson, and Seth, who was played by Adam Brody. But the show also gave layers and storylines to the adults and parents in the show. Looking back, The OC was actually incredibly ahead of its time in regards to a teen drama, and it really pushed the boundaries for the early 2000s. Pretty much right off the bat, Marissa overdoses, there's romantic drama, there's screaming, there's crying, bikinis, and partying, with a beautiful backdrop of Southern California beaches. There was even a lesbian kissing scene between Olivia Wilde and Mischa that caused quite the controversy at the time.
The writers of the show, do they have all these wonderful ideas for you guys to push the envelope or what?
I think they don't think about that too much ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I think that we like to. I mean, if we can, what we can, do on television that's still appropriate for people to be watching and teenagers to be watching, you know? Because there's sort of a role model thing that you don't want these teenagers to be totally crazy. But we want to keep it real for kids.
Don't forget that. Role model,
The first season of The OC had an average of 9.7 million viewers per episode and was the highest rated new drama for the 2003-2004 TV season. It was wildly successful. And because of that immediate success, it caused the main stars of The OC to become household names overnight. You couldn't flip through a teen magazine at the time without seeing Adam, Mischa, Ben, or Rachel. The OC was truly a cultural phenomenon and was even the inspiration for reality shows such as Laguna Beach and The Real Housewives of Orange County. Then those shows had their numerous spin-offs that we are still watching to this very day.
As fun as it was and cool as it was, it spawned all these kind of reality TV shows like The Real OC and The Real Laguna or whatever, and then that's gotten a bit out of control, and I don't think that that's supporting anything too positive, and so for me it's a bit funny because I feel like I almost aided the problem for young girls and for that genre.
Now, a pattern we have seen all too often here on Deep Dive is that when something becomes an instant success, the network, producers, or whoever stands to profit the most, they tend to get greedy, and it is usually at the expense of the talent. In this case, the cast of The OC. Things started to turn sour, specifically for Mischa Barton, while filming season 2. The first issue that arose was when Rachel Bilson was included as a series regular, which was not in the initial plan. Apparently, she wasn't even in the initial credits of the show until around episode 14 of season 1. In order to include her as a series regular, they had to even out the pay of the other cast members, and this is according to Mischa. The second issue was the insane work hours. Season 1 was a whopping 27 episodes long, which is a lot of episodes for a first season of a show, which meant Mischa had a hefty schedule even then. But during season 2, production decided to double up on episodes, increasing the workload substantially. In a 2021 interview with E! News, Mischa stated that of all of the characters on the show, she probably worked the longest hours. But the worst part was not Mischa being overworked, it was the overall toxic work environment on set. It's important to keep in mind that Mischa was the only teenager actually playing her age. Everyone else was in their mid to late 20s. Mischa said there was this sort of general bullying from some of the men on the set, and she just did not feel protected by the cast and crew. She further stated there were people on the set that were just very mean to her, and it just wasn't an ideal environment for a young girl who has just been thrust into stardom to have to deal with. Now, Rachel Bilson saw this 2021 interview with Mischa and E! News and basically said that is not how she remembered it, that she remembers the set environment to be very different than what Mischa described.
We have touched on this, Rachel, that someone who's 16, 17, 18, that amount of hours of work, pressure, at such a young age, at best, you're exhausted, and at worst, it's overwhelming and chaotic. So it kind of breaks my heart a little to know that we knew there's a lot of pressure on her, but if it was really that bad of an experience, that's not right for any young person.
The one thing that I can say is, like, in one of her first comments, she says that I was added last minute after the first season, which is actually completely false and not what happened. So it's starting out that way. I was like, well, that's misinformation. Where are we going with this, and what is she trying to say? Which I would actually like to talk to her and find out, you know, what her experience was from her perspective, because I saw things a little differently.
Now, after digging through old interviews from the early 2000s, Mischa has always made it known that the work environment was not a healthy one for her. So she has stuck to the same story for almost 2 decades now.
I mean, it was a great 3 years of my life, but I do think that, like, it was time for things to change, and it was like an unhealthy work atmosphere. If anybody wanted the show or thought the show was going in the wrong direction, I would have been one of them. And then, like, you know, there were some people who thought that it was, you know, were very happy with it. And then, like, you know, Adam had a lot of film offers he couldn't take, and so did I. And it was just like, and our characters' writing was getting more and more difficult to act.
By season 3, Mischa knew she no longer wanted to continue on with the OC. She really didn't like the direction her character was going, and she was having to turn down huge offers for lead film roles. And these were opportunities that she did really want to explore. So producers of the OC gave Mischa a couple of options. She could leave the show in an open-ended way where her character could come back, or they could kill off the character entirely. Mischa wanted to go out with a bang, so she said, kill my character off and make it as bloody and fiery as you can. And they did just that in the season 3 finale. Now, if y'all don't remember this finale, it sent shockwaves through the nation. Who knows how many tears were shed on the evening of May 18th, 2006. The OC only survived 1 more season after killing off Marissa, as the show's ratings had dropped substantially. Mischa had really struggled with becoming famous overnight. She had stated that the media attention just felt very extreme and invasive, especially at such a young age. After leaving the OC in 2006, Mischa escaped to London for a little while in hopes that the paparazzi would finally give her some space and that things would calm down a bit. But quite the opposite would end up happening. Up until this point, Mischa had always been painted in the media as America's sweetheart, girl next door, but that would all come crashing down when Mischa started hitting the LA party scene. Paparazzi started targeting Mischa like never before, and she would become a regular headline on all of the major gossip magazines.
I do what I do, don't need no crew, don't need no man telling me I'm hot, already knew. Wanna be in my shoes, but you can't fit my Jimmy Choo's. Don't move it, right, left, in a bad bitch position. You hoes can't get in a bad bitch position. You know I don't got no competition. Let me know when you get in a bad bitch position.
Mischa's downward spiral began in 2007. 2007 is quite the year in pop culture history, and we have covered quite a few stories surrounding this era, so be sure to check those out. Anyways, Mischa was in the it girl scene. She was besties with Nicole Richie, she was even feuding with Paris Hilton. She called Paris a boyfriend stealer. Paris responded saying she doesn't even know who Mischa is, and all of this feuding appeared to be over Cisco Adler, Mischa's ex-boyfriend boyfriend who was spotted going on a date with Paris Hilton shortly after their breakup. Feuding with Paris Hilton in the early 2000s was honestly just like a rite of passage during this era. Let's fast forward to Nicole Richie's 2007 Memorial Day barbecue. You know, the party that had a stipulation on the invitation saying there would be a scale at the front door, no girls over 100 pounds, so start starving yourselves now. Yeah, well, that same infamous party would showcase just how dark things had actually gotten for Mischa and would bring her substance abuse struggles right into the public eye. Mischa, who was still going through her fairly recent breakup, had just returned home from Europe. She was apparently sick with bronchitis, but she met up with Nicole anyways to help her set up for the barbecue. By nightfall, it was reported by TMZ that Mischa was rushed from Nicole Richie's Memorial Day party to a local hospital by ambulance. At the time, reports stated that Mischa was having some kind of adverse reaction from mixing alcohol with her antibiotics. However, a few years later, Sophie Monk opened up about saving a celebrity's life at a daytime party in Los Angeles. And all of the details point to this story being about Mischa.
And I was walking through the party and they said, meet this celebrity. And she was like, oh! And I was like, what the hell is wrong with her? And so there's like 200 people at this party. And all of a sudden I was like, she's had too much of something. And she starts convulsing like crazy. And all her best friends, everyone left the party. I mean, everyone within 5 minutes left that party thinking they're going to get in trouble. And I didn't know her. And I was like, they stripped her off naked, ran a shower, left her in it, and left her in the bathroom naked. And everyone left. And I said, I'm not leaving.
All
I
her
just
best friends.
And I didn't know her, and I just said, I am not leaving. I found a dressing gown in a closet, covered her, called the ambulance, and she was like foam coming out of her mouth. They had to strap her down. She would have died easy. Because no one will call the police if they're on something. They think they're going to get in trouble. You're not going to get in trouble. Like they're going to save that person. They're not going to really check you.
So what about, was she like, thank you for saving my life?
No, the next day she goes, who was that bitch that called, because she couldn't remember anything.
Things only continued to spiral more and more out of control from this point on. Every single detail of Mischa's life was being reported on. The swarms of paparazzi were only growing larger. 1 month headlines would read that Mischa is struggling with an ED and is way too skinny. Then when she would put on a little bit of weight, all of a sudden she is just too fat.
Millions of milkshakes. Too long for millions of milkshakes. The Mischa shake. We can call it the Mischa shake.
Okay.
How was your night, Mischa? Millions of milkshakes. What's the fun?
It was great. I had a great night.
Always lovely to see you, Mischa.
Okay, thank you.
Mischa, what's your drink of choice at Bordeaux? Millions of milkshakes for Mischa.
Perez Hilton's blog was also wildly popular at the time. He would regularly report on Mischa, referring to her as Mushy Farton. And just to give an example of how Perez Hilton would write about Mischa, this is just one blog post of many. He said, quote, "You may have gotten rid of the cottage cheese, but you've still got the cankles, and smoking really damages your skin."
Mischa also gets a lot of headlines about her seemingly fluctuating weight. I thought now would be a good time to ask her about it. So how do you feel when people speculate about your weight and stuff in the press? Does that hurt?
I think most actors kind of, you get in shape for a role, you're working out, you're in that headspace and you're doing that, and everybody's like, oh wow, she looks so great. And then, you take time off and you hang out with your boyfriend, you gain 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever, and everybody's like, oh my God, look, she's gained weight.
And because there were some particular pictures I was looking at still on the internet where, I don't know if you had your wisdom teeth out, it said underneath that you'd blogged about that. And then people assume all of a sudden that you've got alcoholic bloat on your face.
It's a really difficult time for me, and I was shocked by the insensitivity of the press and just how, newsworthy it really all became.
Things kind of came to a head in December of 2007 2007 when Mischa was arrested for a DUI and for driving without a valid driver's license.
These days, it seems posing for a mugshot is as much part of being a celeb as walking the red carpet. OC beauty Mischa Barton's the latest to join the celeb lineup. LA County Sheriff's officials say the TV star and model was taken into custody at around 2:45 on Thursday morning after deputies saw her car straddling 2 lanes of traffic and failing to signal while making a turn. The 21-year-old actress is now being held in a West Hollywood jail on $10,000 bail.
She accepted a plea deal which required her to complete a 3-month alcohol education class and to pay a $2,000 fine. In an interview with Ryan Seacrest, she commented on the situation saying, quote, "Obviously, I am 100% responsible for my actions in this case. I'm really disappointed in myself. I don't know what to say about it other than I'm not perfect and I never intend to do something this stupid ever again." After Mischa's arrest for a DUI, things seemed to wind down for a bit as she stepped out of the club scene. Despite all of her personal struggles during 2007, Mischa had never stopped working. She had a few lucrative contracts as brand ambassador for brands such as Herbal Essence and Ked Shoes. She also had been working on launching an entire handbag collection and somehow still managed to find time to act in a couple of movies. But by 2009, everything seemed to come crashing down again. According to an interview with Dr. Phil, Mischa said she was severely overworked. She said she had only had 8 days off in the entire year. She further stated that it was like a train that she could not get off of. Mischa asked to get out of jobs all of the time, and the team around her, including Mama Nala, would tell her she had to do the jobs. Just to give an example of the kind of people who surrounded Mischa in her younger years, she was once told by her publicist to sleep with Leonardo DiCaprio for the sake of her career when she was just 19 years old, which she responded to that saying she's not into older men. So it's not surprising to find out that this team of people started pushing prescription medications onto Mischa just to keep her working.
Were there people medicating you to keep you working?
Yes. I mean, yes. Everybody was very concerned that I wasn't ready to jump back into a whole new show. And there was a lot of pressure to do right by the show and to helm a new series. And I don't know if there's any one particular person to blame. It's you can, again, hindsight is 20/20, but an entire team of people felt that they knew best for me at that time.
But who was your fiduciary in this? Who was putting your interest above the project or their
Nobody really, to be honest.
interest?
I had only a few people who were really looking out for me, but unfortunately came in too late.
So were they medicating you to keep your energy up?
Just to keep me going, and yeah.
That's speed.
Well, no, not necessarily just that. Also things like Xanax and things that take away the anxiety of work and the public eye. And so in general, they were just prescribing things they probably had no right to be prescribing.
That's treating you like a commodity.
Yeah, there is a lot of that.
That pisses me off. They got a smorgasbord of pills here. Mm-hmm. She's anxious, so let's give her this. She's down, let's give her this. Just keep her working, keep her up there, keep her cranking.
In March of 2009, Mischa was cast in a new show called Beautiful Life, which was created by Ashton Kutcher. Around this time, Mischa's team and parents, the very team that according to Mischa had been medicating her to keep her working, well, all of a sudden they switched gears, saying they did not believe she was ready to go off and do this new job. Shortly after, on July 15th, 2009, according to reports, her team staged an intervention where police would come to take Mischa to the hospital. The police did say that she was speaking coherently and went willingly for a mental evaluation. When Mischa arrived at the hospital, she was pretty upset at the whole situation. According to her, she tried to escape from the hospital, and that's when things got very bad. She ended up being committed to the psych ward for 4 days under California's 5150 hold.
Was whisked off to a psych ward using the same police code that was used for Britney Spears.
Yeah, section 5150.
Publicist says police were involved due to Ms. Barton's celebrity status to safely transfer her to medical treatment as per doctor's order. She is okay now, and she is resting. That's one of her mugshots.
And when they rolled into her house, they said she was bloated and looked odd.
My agents and my parents and everybody thinking that I wasn't capable of going off and doing this job in a few days' time, that I wasn't ready. There was an experience where they wanted to go send me to the hospital, and so they sent me to the hospital and these pills that I had been prescribed by a doctor that they had brought in to make sure that I was ready for work.
And then I go down to the hospital. I managed to get out of the hospital doors and make a run for it. And that didn't end so well for me. And again, I was not suicidal at that time. It was just, I didn't want to be there, and I didn't think it was fair.
That experience has followed you till now, because 5150 is an involuntary commitment for someone that is a danger to themselves or someone else.
So people
they say,
continuously think that about me.
She's this, and
it's a stigma that really sticks.
They do. They put the crazy label on.
After the 5150, Mischa seemingly disappeared from the limelight. She was not seen at any of the promotional events for The Beautiful Life, the show that she was starring in, and the CW ended up canceling the show just after the first 2 episodes aired because the ratings were pretty terrible. For years after her spiral, Mischa flew under the radar and out of the headlines. She still would continue on acting, but in lower level films, many of which were thrillers or horror movies, but overall it appeared as if she had really turned her life around. However, the repercussions of her quote troubled years continued to follow her. By 2014, she was financially struggling. The multi-million-dollar home Mischa purchased when she was 19 years old during the OC days, that home was under threat of foreclosure. She had tried to offload the property multiple times to no avail, and it was reported she was $100,000 behind on the mortgage. Shortly after the news broke of the potential foreclosure, it came out that Mischa was being sued by film producers of the movie Promoted. Mischa had agreed to star in the movie and was reportedly given an advance payment of $20,000. A day before filming was to start, her rep sent an email to producers saying Mischa had decided to not take part in the movie. Mischa allegedly kept the money and then took a trip to Europe. This was all in the courts for quite a while, but eventually a judge ordered Mischa to pay the producers $200,000 in damages. And this would just be the beginning of Mischa's legal battles. In 2015, Mischa sued her mom, Nala, for allegedly stealing her money and exploiting her fame for commercial purposes. Mischa's lawyer had referred to Nala as a greedy stage mother. Allegedly, when Nala was acting as Mischa's manager or momager, she told Mischa that a movie was paying less than it actually was, and then allegedly pocketed the difference for herself. This is just one of the many claims made against Nala. There is also a secondary legal battle in regards to the house that was almost foreclosed on. Allegedly, Mischa's mom locked Mischa out of her own home and was preventing Mischa from being able to sell the home to avoid foreclosure. Now, Nala denies all of these claims.
This morning, actress Mischa Barton locked in a bitter battle with her mother, taking her to court claiming she stole from the OC star, who schemed to defraud her unsuspecting victim to exploit her daughter's career for her own selfish benefit.
We brought this action on behalf of our client Mischa Barton against her mother and former talent manager Nuala Barton, so that Mischa can get closure, can move on with her career, and can get to the bottom of what's happened to all the money that she's made.
Fast forward to 2016, Mischa was finally able to sell her home, and with her legal battles now behind her, she began inching her way back into the public eye. She went on Dancing with the Stars, but was booted off pretty quickly, and in an interview, she likened the experience of being on Dancing with the Stars to the Hunger Games. By 2017, Mischa was back to being a headline regular, and things get pretty dark again. It first started on her birthday. She had gone out to celebrate with a few friends. After returning home, a neighbor began filming Mischa having a breakdown on her balcony, and that neighbor immediately sold the footage to TMZ.
Oh my God, it's over. I feel it. And it's angry. Oh my God. Oh, my mother. I always knew it. Oh, you fucking witch. I knew it. What a witch.
Actress Mischa Barton was taken to the hospital, but no information has been released on her condition. The LA County Sheriff's Department says they were called to a West Hollywood apartment yesterday morning because of a report of a woman yelling. That's when Barton was taken to the hospital.
Police were called and Mischa was brought to a nearby hospital. According to Mischa, when she was out celebrating her birthday, she may have been slipped GHB. Again, this would make headlines across the country where media would question if Mischa is back to her, quote, old ways.
But you think you were drugged?
Yes, I do. The paramedic said that I showed all the symptoms of GHB and that I was drugged.
You got 2-seaters?
I did, yeah. They took care of me there. They took me 2-seaters. I was already out.
And you had no idea what happened to you.
No.
You didn't know how you got there?
Nope.
Has any of it come back to you?
Nope.
Quite literally, right after this incident, a new headline breaks that an explicit tape of Mischa is being shopped around Hollywood for $500,000. See, Mischa was in this kind of whirlwind of a romance that lasted just a few weeks with a man named John Zacharias. What Mischa said she didn't know was that John was secretly recording their intimate relations without her knowledge. He then was allegedly trying to sell the videos and photos that he took of Mischa without her consent to the highest bidder. Mischa wasted no time and hired attorney Lisa Bloom to stop this from happening. Immediately, Lisa files a temporary restraining order against John and another ex-boyfriend, Adam Shaw, who may have also been involved in this some way. Mischa and her lawyer also hold a press conference to deter anyone from buying these tapes, as it is a serious crime called revenge porn.
When I learned that someone I thought I loved and trusted was filming my most intimate and private moments without my consent with hidden cameras. And then I learned something even worse, that someone is trying to sell these videos and make them public.
Let me be very clear to anyone who attempts to traffic in these images. You are now on notice of these court orders. You are on notice that these images were obtained illegally and that Ms. Barton does not consent to their distribution. If you continue, we will find you, we will come after you, and we will bring you to justice to the fullest extent possible.
In June of 2017, Mischa and John Zacharias reached a settlement that permanently blocked the dissemination of the video and imagery. All the explicit content was to be handed over to Mischa's lawyer immediately, and there would be a permanent restraining order in place. This was a huge win for Mischa, and also just to show how serious of a crime revenge porn is. You know, we did a video on Deep Dive about how when this very thing happened to Vanessa Hudgens, she was shamed and blamed relentlessly for it. So Mischa's case just shows how far we have come in taking this crime seriously.
It's amazing how different I feel from when we started this case. It's like night and day. I truly do feel stronger and victorious.
Did it feel like the end? Like this was over?
It actually did, because, you know, it's like 2 permanent restraining orders. I felt safe again, and I felt like I had fought it out, which I had.
In 2019, MTV was rebooting the hit reality show The Hills, titled The Hills New Beginnings. Quite a few of the original cast members would return to the show, like Audrina, Brody, Heidi, and Spencer. But in a shocking announcement, we learned that Mischa Barton was going to be joining the cast as well.
When you're famous, people have like a price tag on your head. Keep my distance now from people. It's a hard-learned lesson. A lot of people that I trusted turned out to be monsters.
In a weird way, kind of like everything has come full circle, Mischa was a star of The OC, which inspired Laguna Beach, and now almost 15 years later, she joins the cast of a spin-off of a show that was inspired by the very show that shot her into stardom. It's a full circle moment. Perez Hilton, who is now the godfather of Heidi and Spencer's kid, even makes a cameo and apologizes to Mischa for all of his old atrocious blog posts, you know, the ones where he calls her mushy fartin.
I need to apologize.
I know, but the thing with that is that, like, and not to put you on the spot, but this bullying that you did for so long to so many young girls, I find it hard to let go. I really do. It's not just about the body shaming. I just can't really accept the apology entirely on the behalf of how I truly feel.
You're speaking for other people too.
What did he say about her? I think he talked a lot of shit about like her weight and stuff.
And I say this on my kid's life. I swear. If I could go back in time and do things differently, I would.
Would you? Would
I
you
would.
really?
After just one season, Mischa left the show. Brody Jenner said it was kind of awkward having her part of the cast, and producers allegedly said she just didn't bring the drama that's necessary for reality TV. Since then, Mischa has gone on to act in a couple more horror-esque films, and just 3 months ago, Mischa came on Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark's podcast, Welcome to the OC Bitches, and they discussed their old OC days while they cried together as they rewatched Marissa Cooper's death scene. So it looks like Mischa and Rachel have smoothed out any differences they had about their experience experiences on set.
You know what? We just are so grateful that you were willing to come on. The people have been asking and hounding, and obviously, like we said, it just speaks to how powerful you were on the show and how much everyone loves you.